Hey everyone, Doug here with Doug Johnson Productions, Orem, Utah. And I'm here to show you today a brand new tool, a website that I've just created and made available called LUTmath.com. What this site does is allows you to do manipulation of 3D lookup tables, or LUTs. And the particular application we're going to cover right now is making two dissimilar cameras match, or at least come close. I got a little background here. So I primarily do live event video production, things like concerts, conferences, sporting events, those kinds of things. And we typically run 6, 8 cameras for an event. And sometimes we have mismatches between cameras. In fact, not just sometimes, often or usually there are mismatches between cameras. We use the Sony PXW-Z150 camera. It's an excellent 4K camcorder. It's the primary camera. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily work for every possible application. It's a camera that requires operation on a tripod. It doesn't make a very good handheld camera because it's kind of heavy. It also doesn't have pan-tilt zoom capability, and so there are times when it's just not the right choice. So to augment that camera, we use the Sony SRG 300 SE pan-tilt zoom camera, which for what it is pretty good. However, its image is not as good as the Z150. Not only is it not as good, it also has a distinctively different look to it as well. And if you compare the image from the Z150 to the 300 SE, the 300 SE is very much lacking contrast, saturation. In addition, colors that are kind of in the red to orange range typically come out either with too much magenta or too much orange in them. So switching from one camera to another is a little bit jarring, and that's like one of the last things you want when you're doing video production. You want all of your cameras to actually match. So the solution I came up with to that is this piece of software, this website, which merges some lookup table files, cube format, created by DaVinci Resolve, to create a new LUT that can be applied to the 300 SE or any camera, whatever it happens to be, to make them appear more similar. So the site is actually completely free to use. There's no charge. You don't even have to sign up for an account. All you have to do is validate that you're human. And once you've done that, you're able to upload cube files and have the site process them and give you resulting cube files as output. So, for camera matching, you do have to do a little bit of work before you go to the site, and it does require a little bit of well, it requires some things that you may not particularly have. You may not have just yet. So the main thing of those is a color checker chart. This is one that I use. It's called the Color Checker Video from X-Rite. Basically what you do is you stick this in front of the camera, you shoot a couple of seconds of video, you take that resulting file, drop it into DaVinci Resolve or another piece of software designed to color correct video, and it produces a lookup table. And you do that for each of your cameras, and each of the modes that the camera has that you want to try and copy, and you run that through the website, and it produces a lookup table file, a LUT, a cube file, that you can then apply to whatever camera in order to match your other camera. So, by the way, I do highly recommend this Color Checker Video. They also have other formats as well. This is the one that I chose. There will be a link to that in the description. But yeah, it only takes a few minutes. You just shoot this, preferably in sunlight, to be honest, to make sure that you have the most even color, even lighting. But yeah, you shoot some video with each, so you shoot video with each of your cameras in each of the different modes. Like this Z150, for example, it has 7 different color picture profiles built into it, and those are customizable. So I've created a couple of picture profiles that I like, one for indoors, one for outdoors. And then, so I shot this color chart with each of those picture profiles in the camera. And then I did the same thing with the 300 SE, and I have those video clips. Then take those into DaVinci Resolve, and that's kind of where we're going to start here. today. So I'm going to demonstrate the process so you can see exactly what it takes, and you'll be able to recreate it on your own. So let's dive right into Resolve. Now I've already shot the video here of the camera aimed at the color chart, and those clips are here. So I've shot all the different picture profiles of the Z150 as well as some footage with the 300 SE. You would do the same thing for any cameras that you want to process. All right, once we've got those shot, we can bring them into the media pool of Resolve, and once they're in there, we can actually come over to the edit page. From here, you'll grab on one of these video clips, drop into this window, find your in and out point, and then drag into the timeline. In order to do the color correction, the clips really need to be on the timeline. It's certainly the easiest way to do it. So, and you'll see here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different clips on my timeline. And those represent picture profiles 1 through 6, and then picture profile 10, as well as no picture profile. And then after that is where the footage from the Sony SRG 300 SE has been placed. With those on the timeline, at that point we can actually start to analyze the colors on the footage and make sure that we're able to generate a neutral LUT to basically undo the processing of the camera. So we'll come over to the color page here, and on the bottom here we'll select the color match page, and then up here in the window, in the little drop down, we choose color chart. And once we do that, it shows this overlay that we can drag over the color chart. Now this is not the right color chart, not the one that I use. So we're going to come down to this drop down list, and we're going to choose X-Rite Color Checker Video, because that's the chart that I'm using. Once I've got that selected, it changes the chart and the layout here. And then we just drag so that these target squares line up with the color blocks on the chart. So just drag those over, preferably somewhere in the middle of each. And now Resolve is going to be able to find those different colors on the chart. So if you line those up just a little bit better, make those in the middle. Okay, now down here in the bottom under configuration, we want to make sure that we've got the right source, target gamma, and color space selected, as well as the correct color temperature. So when you're shooting HD video, normally that's Rec.709, so we'll choose that here. We're also going to target the same. We're not trying to change the gamma from one to another. And we're also going to say that the target color space is also Rec 709. Even though those are named the same, they're actually different things. Gamma refers to the brightness curve, and then the color space refers to the color gamut, like the number and types of colors that are available. HD video, that's also typically 709. And the color temperature we're targeting here is 6500. Now with those selected, I'm going to click the match button. And if you notice, the image changed ever so slightly. So let me turn that correction off and then back on. And you see that there is a subtle difference. So off, that's the video straight out of the camera, and back on, and that's the corrected. So now Resolve has internally created a LUT, or lookup table, in order to sort of neutralize the output of that particular camera. And once we've done that, we can come over to that clip itself, right click on it, and one of the options here is to generate 3D LUT. And then it says cube in parentheses. Cube is the file type that the LUTmath.com site actually uses. And it's what we're going to be exporting out of Resolve and importing back in a little bit later. So I'm just going to drop these in a temporary folder. So this is the one for the Sony PXW Z150 Picture Profile 1. And I'm going to click Save. And then essentially we'll do the same thing for the other cameras. So very quickly I'll just do it for Picture Profile 2. Make sure we've got the right color chart selected. Drag the squares to the right location. Again, all the configuration parameters are correct, so I hit match. And so now the camera is again neutralized. So off, on, off, and on. The on appears a little bit flatter, but that's okay. You know, the camera, as part of its picture profiles feature, is there to create a more pleasing look, and more pleasing doesn't necessarily mean accurate. So once we've got that, we'll go ahead and export that LUT file as well. And then once we've got that one done, Sony PXW Z150 Picture Profile 2, we'll come over to the Sony SRG 300 SE, because this is the camera that we're trying to make match this the Z150. All right, so we're essentially going to make sure that we've got the right color chart selected, and then we're going to drag the chart over that and line that up. Again, make sure all of our parameters are set right, and then hit match. And again, there's off and on. So picture as it comes out of the camera, and then this is the corrected or neutralized image. And with that, we'll go ahead and generate that LUT file. I'm going to call this one Sony SRG 300 SE and save that. Okay, now we've got those LUT files. So what exactly is the process that LUTmath.com is using in order to correct or to produce a LUT to make the cameras match? Essentially what's happening is the site is able to take this correction data from these LUTs that we've created and calculate what processing that camera has done on the image in order to produce its distinctive look. And because it's able to calculate that, it can then apply that same processing to another camera. But in order to do that, it also has to neutralize that second camera as well. So you provide these two correction LUTs to the site. It does its thing, and it produces a new LUT, which makes camera B look like camera A by effectively removing the internal processing of camera B and adding this similar type of processing from camera A to that file. So let's go to the website and do that. Now I'll get Resolve out of the way here. And then on the LUTmath.com site, we'll go to the third mode. It's called camera matching. And then here's where we're going to choose the LUT from the camera we want to correct. So in this case, that's the 300 SE. And I'll navigate to where I have that file. And so here I'll choose that cube file that was output by Resolve. And then the second one, this is the correction LUT from the camera that we're trying to copy. So in this case, we're going to copy the Z150 with picture profile 1. Hit OK. And then we have an intensity option here. So if you want the camera to try and match as closely as possible, you'd set that intensity at 100. But if you were to say, for example, you know what, I like the look of the camera, but it's just a little bit too heavy, you can say dial it back and say, you know what, I only want 80% of it. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and do 100%. Now, with those two files selected and the intensity set, and click the Submit button, the web browser uploads those two cube files, the site does its processing, and then the site comes back and says, you know what, here's your LUT. So here we go. We're going to call this one 300 SE to Z150 picture profile 1.cube, and we'll save that file. Now we'll do the same thing with picture profile 2. Select that file, hit the Submit button, uploads, the site does its calculations, and then provides the download file. So we'll call that one 300 SE to Z150 picture profile 2, and we'll save that one. Okay, so with those LUTs processed and saved to my local computer, I'm going to copy those to a folder so I can show you the appearance of those in DaVinci Resolve. So minimize my browser. I'm going to very quickly grab these files here, copy from my temporary directory into the Resolve designated files for LUTs. Alright, now with that I can actually pull Resolve back up, and I have to force Resolve to reload its LUT information. So go under Project Settings, Color Management, Update Lists. Wait for it to process for a moment. It's rereading all the LUTs from that directory. Now we click on Save. Now what we can do is we can take those two LUTs that we created from the LUTmath.com site and apply them to this video clip in order to make the 300 SE look more like the Z150. So I'm going to right click on this second node. And notice I've got this first node deactivated now, so that node is there to do essentially a correction of the the 300 SE's processing. We turn that off. We don't want that anymore. What we want to do is we want to add the new LUT that was created by LUTmath.com. So I'm going to right click on there and say it's a 3D LUT in the DJ folder, and we'll choose the 300 SE to Z150 PP1. Click on that, and bingo. Now we have processing on that camera that makes it look much more like the Z150, in this case picture profile 1. So I'll click on that clip and then click on the 300 SE, and you'll see that the colors are indeed very, very similar, and it's very much made those two cameras look similar. So if I turn that off, you'll see what the 300 SE looks like by itself, and click it again to turn it back on, and there's the processing on that 300 SE to make it more like the Z150 picture profile 1. Now I'll also do, just for grins, we'll also show you what it looks like with picture profile 2. And so we'll click on that, and there we go. So now that matches this one much more closely. The two of these match quite well. A little bit of exposure differences, but in terms of the color and the gamma and other things, they are very much more similar. Now, that's all very cool. Where this gets even cooler, though, is when you're able to process one of these things live. Blackmagic Design makes two products which allow you to process video and apply a LUT in real time. And they're both variants of the SDI to HDMI converters. I'll show you in the first one. They just barely introduced within the last couple of weeks. So this mini converter SDI to HDMI 6G. It has to be the 6G version, not the 4K version. But this allows you to upload a LUT into the converter. The device processes the video coming in on the SDI input, adds the LUT to it, and then sends it out the SDI output. They also have a Teranex mini converter. It looks like this, and that's actually what I'm going to be using. So what I can do here is I can select, temp. I'll select one of those LUT files we just created. I'm going to go with we'll do picture profile 1. So I'll load that into slot 1. Go ahead and click on that, and then I'll load the other one into slot 2, and then bring up a window here. This is my 300 SE live. It's sitting in my yard. So here is the video without the LUT. Here's with the LUT to make it look more like picture profile 1, and here is the LUT to make it look more like picture profile 2. And I will go ahead and spin that camera around so it faces the front yard, and let you see it looks in different color. So this is LUT 2, this is no LUT, this is LUT 1. And so if I had a Z150 set up, you would see that this image does indeed resemble the image created by the Z150 quite a bit. It's a very handy tool. I'm starting to use this live, so from this point on, if I need to use my PTZ cameras, I'm going to bring out my color chart, shoot a short video clip, bring that into Resolve, create those LUTs, upload the resulting LUTs to the LUTmath.com site, create a new LUT in order to make that camera look more like my other cameras, and then process that in real time in order to make sure that the cameras come as close to matching as possible. So anyway, so as I mentioned, this is a totally free site, no charge. You don't have to sign up. I'm not asking for any of your information. You don't have to give me an email address or anything like that. You just have to verify that you are a human, and then you can process these LUT files. I intend to keep the site that way. This is not just an introductory offer. And so these basic processing options that we've got on the site, including this camera match feature, are there. They're free for anybody to use. So if you have questions or comments, be sure and leave those down below in the description. I do try and answer questions as best I can. Come visit my website. It's djprod.biz for Doug Johnson Productions. Check it out. If you happen to be in my area and need a live event videography, I'd be happy to help you out. So be sure and like and subscribe. I do videos that talk about video production in all sorts of different scenarios. My current project that a lot of people are following right now is creation of a live video production trailer. So a facility where I can have up to 8 people working, switch video up to 4K, up to 20 cameras, and stream that out to the internet or broadcast or whatever. So anyway, I do appreciate you watching, and have a great day.